I'm on with Mary.
Okay, hello everyone, and
Should be live.
welcome to the virtual Fall Open House 2020 and the Women in Engineering event. I would like to start with a territorial acknowledgement. So the University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the Neutral, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldimand Track, which is land promised to the Six Nations, which includes 6 miles on either side of the Grand River, as shown in the map. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across all of our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is centralized within our Indigenous Initiatives Office. If you would like to know more, there's a link at the bottom of the page. So my name is Mary Robinson. I'm here today speaking to you in my role as Associate Director of First Year Engineering. I am also an alumnus of the program, a graduate of the Chemical Engineering program. And I look forward to seeing many of you in your first year, hopefully in the next year or so. So I'm here today to share with you a little bit about what an engineer is and why this might be a good career choice for you. So basically, an engineer is someone who uses math and science to solve a whole broad variety of problems. So a focus on efficiency is part of it, making things more efficient, more effective, more environmentally friendly or sustainable. And there are a wide variety of engineering disciplines that may be of interest to you. There are also a spectrum of careers that exist after graduation. So I did my undergraduate degree and went to work for the Mr. Christie's Bakery. So I went into more of a manufacturing and an operations role, so more towards the right-hand side of the spectrum. Then I came back to the university for graduate studies, so over on the left-hand side towards research. And an engineer can move back and forth between many different career options, depending on what your interests are, and of course, where your career is going. Now, at the University of Waterloo, you may have noticed that we have a whole giant list of programs available. We have a number of traditional engineering programs, chemical engineering, which I studied, civil, electrical, computer, geological, and mechanical engineering are some of the more core or traditional programs. We also have a large list of interdisciplinary programs. So architectural, biomedical, environmental, management, mechatronics, nanotech, software, and of course, systems design. And they may be joint programs between different engineering programs, or they may be outside of the faculties, such as software engineering, which is joint with the math faculty, or nanotech, which is joint with the science faculty. So depending on the area of expertise and the collection of skills, the math and science background that's needed to be an expert, that's where the programs have been built and that's where they live. So why would you want to choose Waterloo Engineering? Well, co-op is the one that many people know and recognize us for, our world-class co-op program. One you might not be aware of is our intellectual property policy. And everything that you invent while a student at the University of Waterloo is your property. And that's part of the reason that we have so many students that go into starting their own businesses after graduation and become entrepreneurs. It's because of this IP culture, which then leads into things like the Velocity Residence Enterprise Co-op and other opportunities and expertise that's present on campus to help you take your idea to that next level. We also have the Ideas Clinic, which is all about hands-on learning embedded in the curriculum from first year through fourth year. Of course, the community is another big piece of that. You are streamed into your program from your first day of 1A. And these classmates are going to be your classmates through your entire undergraduate degree. We refer to you as cohorts. And so it's basically like a really large family of classmates that are going to be with you through your entire degree. We also have great student-led programs such as the Engineering Society. So all engineering students by default are welcome to participate with the Engineering Society. We also have a number of organizations in partnership with the engineering students with other outside organizations such as Women in Engineering, Engiqueers for any of our LGBTQ plus students, NSBE, so the National Society for Black Engineers, and there is a .CASIS chapter that is opening, so the Canadian branch of the Indigenous Science and Engineering Society. So no matter what your background, no matter what your interest, you will absolutely find some community here at the University of Waterloo. And if you're thinking about living in residence, I suggest you check out the St. Paul's Women in Engineering Living Learning Community as well. And with that, I would like to turn things over to Daniela to start our panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Mary. And if I could ask all of our panelists to please turn on your cameras and unmute yourselves. We'll just do some quick introductions and then we'll get right into Q&A. So just a reminder for those who are joining us today, please do type in your questions using the Q&A tab in the top right corner of your screen. We'll try to get through as many questions as we possibly can. So first off, I'm just going to go in the order on my screen. Andrea, could you introduce yourself, please? Okay, I think we might be having a little difficulty with Andrea. We'll go to Mihaela first, if that's all right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mihaela Vlasia. I'm a faculty member in the Mechanical and Mechatronics Engineering Department. I have also graduated from the Mechatronics Engineering program back in, I won't say, 2008, I'm going to say. I came back to Waterloo because it's such an exciting environment and such a great community to be part of. And today I'm wearing a little bit the hat of the Women in Engineering faculty rep. So hopefully I'll be able to answer some questions from ranging from my engineering experience all the way to my experience with the Women Engineering Group.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mihaela. Maya, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Maya. I'm a 2B student here in computer engineering at the University of Waterloo. I'm very involved in women in engineering in general, as well as other student societies on campus, mainly within engineering. So I can't wait to tell you all about my experience in engineering.
Awesome, thank you. And we're very lucky to have two alumni with us as well today. So Leah, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Leah Young, and I am a systems design engineering graduate from 2012. Once I graduated from engineering, I went on into a master's of kind of international development and economic policy. So I kind of am straddling the two worlds of engineering and arts and humanities, and work a lot in the mining industry on environment, health, and safety management, as well as engaging with Indigenous communities on those topics.
Fantastic. Thank you, Leah. And Michelle, will you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. My name is Michelle Liu. I'm a graduate of the Civil Engineering program with my undergrad as well as a master's degree. I'm currently in law school at the University of Ottawa. So I'm speaking to you from Ottawa today, and I'm looking to leverage both my engineering background as well as my legal education to become an advocate for equity-seeking groups in both STEM and in society in general.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. And Chris, our he for she advocate and Women in Engineering Committee representative.
Hey, you stole my intro.
Sorry.
Hey, everyone. My name is Chris Bachman. I'm a professor in civil engineering. And as Danielle mentioned, I'm the he for she rep for the Faculty of Engineering.
Awesome. Thanks for being here today, Chris. And Andrea, I think you're back. You might be having a little bit of technical trouble. Are you able to introduce yourself, or maybe try turning off your video and just use the audio? I think Andrea's frozen again. Okay, so we'll get started with our Q&A. I've got a bunch of questions that have come in so far, and we'll try to get through as many as possible. So Mary, if we could start with you, does Waterloo have a quota for the number of female students they need to accept?
Great question, Daniela, and the answer is no. You are admitted to Waterloo Engineering based on your skills and your ability. There's no number of spots that need to be filled by person X or type Y. It's entirely based on your academic skills.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Mihaela, a question for you, and if anyone wants to add to it as well. Is it difficult for students to change engineering programs? So if they were to start in one program, could they switch to another? Or what does that look like, or what options are available?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think this question was very popular in my Q&A thread on the mechanical and mechatronics engineering side. So when you apply for University of Waterloo, the engineering programs are cohort-based. So what that means is that once you get into a program, it's very much tailored for that particular cohort in terms of kind of a course outline as well as course focus to ensure success within that cohort. So with that said, it's fairly difficult to switch between between different engineering programs. So you have to be very mindful of that. So if you select your first choice as well as a secondary option, correct me if I'm wrong, you really have to know what you want. Because it's very difficult to switch between engineering disciplines. Within a cohort, however, it does happen where, you know, sometimes you're going through your co-op and your co-op employer says, well, you know, we had so much fun with you. We want to extend your co-op to an 8-month program. So at that point, you really have to work with your undergraduate academic advisor to make sure that you can align your courses as well as make sure all the courses that you want could be taken in future semesters. So it is possible to kind of change within the program, change your stream, but it's difficult to change between engineering programs. And I'd like to invite other people if they have an opinion on that as well.
Great. Did anyone else want to add to that? I think that was a great answer though, Mahela. And sorry, we are getting a little bit of feedback. So when you aren't answering, if you could just mute yourselves, our panelists, that would be wonderful. And then just unmute when I do call on you. I'd like to go over to our alumni for a minute. So both Michelle and Leah, if you could answer this one. Could you tell us a bit about what your experience was like as a student at Waterloo Engineering?
I guess I can.
And Leah, maybe we can start with you.
Sure. Yeah, I guess there's a lot we could talk about, but I would say that I really enjoyed the cohort experience at systems design engineering because you really get to know your classmates so well after 5 years of studying and working together. I'm probably going to be in touch with them for the rest of my life, a lot of the classmates that I was with. And then the other thing I would say is the extracurriculars are really great on campus too. So I volunteered with Engineers Without Borders, and I know lots of others volunteered with the design teams that were on campus and really enjoyed that experience. So I would highly encourage everyone to take advantage of that and to, you know, explore your interests, because you can do that through co-op, but you can do that through the extracurriculars as well. And I met some lifelong friends through that process too. Yeah, and then the co-op is just a great experience to explore what you are or are not interested in. It's really hard to figure out what career you might want to follow, but it was actually through my extracurriculars that I figured out what I wanted to do with my career rather than, but I still learned about what work experience and what workplace, you know, culture and size I enjoyed the best through my work experience as well.
Okay, fantastic. And Michelle, would you like to tell us what was it like for you when you were a student?
Yeah, I can maybe touch on, I definitely echo everything Leah said about the cohort system as well as co-op being a great experience. I can maybe touch a little bit more on what it's like being a woman specifically in engineering, given that this is a women engineering panel. I guess I want to talk about my experience as a woman on construction sites as a civil engineering co-op student, as well as an EIT, which is what I became following my master's. I came into engineering expecting there to be some degree of sexism, but that didn't end up being the case for me. I was overall welcomed on construction sites, which is sort of what I gravitated towards working in. I think, you know, this is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek anecdote, but the biggest challenge I would say I faced on construction sites is the porta potties not having toilet paper in them because men don't need it. They use it. And so, but other than that, it was overall a very good experience. And I continue to speak highly of the industry as a law student, and I plan to go back and work as a construction litigator potentially.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe we could ask Chris a little bit more about the He for She initiative at the University of Waterloo and what that commitment means and what that's all about.
Sure, I'll just take the remaining time. No, I'm kidding. So He for She, just to start, if you take a step back, it's a global effort that was initiated by the UN to bring boys into the conversation about equity, and in particular, women's equity. And so the University of Waterloo was invited to help lead He for She, in part because of our commitment to gender equity. And so we set 3 goals at a high level to increase female enrollment in STEM, to increase female faculty, and also to increase female in leadership positions. And though that target was about 1/3 for all of those things, and we actually achieved it early, which was last year in 2019. And I think what's really important about He for She is it shows dedication right from the top down at Waterloo to gender equity. And in addition to that, for the students, of course, attending this panel presentation, we do all sorts of activities on campus and programming. So there's writing contests, there's workshops, we even sponsor research grants. And so I think that's a good summary of what it is, but it's really about helping women achieve their potential and bringing boys into that conversation.
Okay, and to build on that, how do you feel that male professors and students can be allies to women in engineering?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and I think my, I think probably the number one thing is to listen, and I think that's a lesson maybe we could take more broadly outside of even this context. But I think listening is such an undervalued skill, because I was never a woman in engineering, but that doesn't mean I can't listen to women who are in engineering. And I think listening is so important because we need a shared understanding of reality to move forward. And if we don't have that shared reality, it's very difficult to, have a positive influence on the future. And I guess second to that, when you're done listening, is to act. There's so many, phrases that speak to the importance of acting. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. So at the end of the day, you have to do something. You have to take action. And, so if you're looking for something to do, you could just send me an email. But there's always something to do. And so I would encourage men and boys to take action.
Awesome. I think that's a great point. Thank you, Chris. I'd like to go over to our students. So I'll go to Maya first, and then Andrea, we'll try you again. Hopefully we can get a connection. But Maya, can you tell us a little bit, how many other women are in your classes? What is the ratio like? And what has your experience been like as a woman in engineering?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in computer engineering, which is one of our departments, which ends up with a little bit on the lower end of the spectrum compared to some of the other departments within engineering. So my class is in about 100, 120 people. We probably have about 20 women. So we're roughly at a 20% ratio typically. That being said, all of my guy classmates are mainly pretty supportive. There's a few that aren't, but they're also like the outliers very much from what I've found. And there's always people who are willing to support you, which is really amazing.
Thank you, Maya. And maybe just before we go over to Andrea, just to build on that, Mary, just a quick question for you. What is the overall average of the number of women in engineering in first year?
Yeah, so at the first year engineering level for the last couple of years, we've been hovering around the 30% mark, so 30, 31%. But yes, it does vary by discipline. There are certain programs that have been at parity for years. Biomedical engineering even veers into majority women. So what you're seeing is some of the numbers vary across programs, and electrical and computer engineering historically has been on the lower side, just as mine.
And I know we're definitely doing work and making effort to improve that and increase the number of women in engineering across all the programs. So, so Andrea, let's try again. And I know you're in mechatronics engineering, so maybe you can speak to that.
Let's see, am I still here?
You are here. We're getting a little bit of feedback, but it's okay. Okay,
perfect. So hi, everyone. I'm Andrea. I'm a second-year mechatronics engineering student. And much like what Maya said, right? The majority of our class is male. There's about 20 females in mechatronics as well. And the whole idea is that the world that we live in, the majority of people are nice, they're supportive, and they want to be there for you. But then there's always a few outliers. And I really don't want to, I would say, sugarcoat the fact that in engineering, you don't face any gender inequality or you don't face any of those problems. They will still be there. I have personally dealt with problems in my classroom from people not really taking what I'm saying seriously, to in the workplace as well. So you do get some of those experiences, but I would say definitely focus on the fact that there is so many more experiences out there that are so much more positive. And one experience here or there definitely is, it's kind of a bummer sometimes to have that, but I think overall engineering itself is a very welcoming sort of place to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. And maybe I could ask Mihaela and Mary to build on that as well, as former students who have gone on to become professors and researchers and such. How have you been able to address those challenges that you have dealt with because of your gender, or do you feel that you have encountered them? And do you think that there's more that we could be doing in that area, or what are some of the things that are being done at the University of Waterloo to address that and make it a welcoming space for everyone? Mihaela, maybe we could start with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a very complex question because, in human psychology, you often tend to focus on the negative, or it tends to leave a more lasting impression in terms of how you maybe proceed from a situation that was a bit more negative compared to when things go extremely well. You don't even think about, those aspects. So I would say that the majority of the experience has been quite smooth, and those are the aspects that you tend to take for granted, because a lot of the support that I've had in my career path have been from either male colleagues or people in my family that are male. So I think we tend not to even think about that and take it for granted. But when things do go bad, I think what I've noticed is that the University of Waterloo community tends to be quite supportive, and the experience that you have as a student within University of Waterloo are quite positive. And then the experiences that tend to be a little bit more abrasive are in the workplace. And that's where I think we need to actually understand how to bring the new generation of students that are both male and female graduating from Waterloo. How do we take that positive experience of the University of Waterloo community into the workspace and permeate that, across, 5 to 10 years, from now, because that's how you seed mentalities. Nothing changes overnight, right? So I think what we can do is take that positive experience from University of Waterloo and try to cultivate that in our students, in the hopes that once they become professionals, they actually take that with them in the workplace. And I think it's happening. And I think some of our students do get the skills to deal with some of the negatives out there and learn how to cope with them. And there are services as well as support at Waterloo that help you navigate through that, as opposed to, a graduate that just wakes up in the workspace and does not have that support structure. So I think kind of focusing on the positives and then taking that in the workplace is something that's quite important. I think taking the good and the bad and then focusing on what works well and implementing that is very important.
Excellent. Thank you, Mihaela. And Mary, did you want to add to that at all?
I would just add that we don't live under a rock. We don't believe that everything is absolutely perfect. I'm a lecturer, so a big part of my role is teaching. And for example, our teaching evaluations recently have gone through an in-depth analysis. And what was uncovered is that women are often more negatively biased in the teaching reports than male colleagues. Sorry, I have a bit of a cough. So the university is looking at changing how teaching evaluation is done to help remove some of that bias. So there are a number of researchers and faculty members who are actively looking at this. And being a woman, this is one of the things that I look at, but there's also the question of skin color. So our BIPOC population, how are they being affected by even some measures that we may not ever have thought about? As engineers, a number is black and white to us, but how is that number determined? Does have some gray and some other colors associated with it. So engineering is absolutely starting to look at that, and we're having some uncomfortable conversations, but I think it's in the right direction. We are moving in the right direction, and we're not afraid to have those hard conversations.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary. And I think the Women in Engineering Committee plays a big role in some of those conversations that are happening and events and activities on campus. And I know a number of people on the panel are members of that committee. So I was wondering if maybe Maya, Andrea, Leah, if you'd like to speak just a little bit about what the Women in Engineering Committee does in a little bit more detail and some of the exciting initiatives that we have coming up for the future. And Chris, I know you're a member as well and involved in some of that too. So if you'd like to add also. Maya, maybe we can start off with you.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been involved in women in engineering in a couple different ways over my years at university now. So one of them is predominantly the Women in Engineering Committee. I'm currently doing an advocacy role where I'm helping to voice student opinions. That committee handles a wide range of running events and creating supports for women in engineering at the university. I've also had roles within like our Women in Engineering Outreach Squad, where the university runs specific events to encourage more young women into engineering. And I do a lot of volunteering with that, as well as Andrea and I are helping to start up the student committee version of our general Women in Engineering Committee, so that more students can have an impact on helping to keep women in engineering and support women in engineering.
Fantastic. Thank you. Andrea, did you want to add to that? Anything that Maya said?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch specifically on the student committee, and that's something we've been working really hard over for the last 2-3 months now. And essentially, it's a way to sort of get more women involved and undergraduate students involved in things that really matter to them for their community. So a couple of our missions right now are, number one, to build a stronger community within engineering. There is a community right now, but we feel like it could be a little bit stronger. So making improvements there. And then as well as reaching out to younger students and high school students. There's a lot of different initiatives, a lot of different things coming up the pipeline. So we're incredibly excited about that.
Fantastic. And Leah, did you want to speak a little bit about some of the projects that you've been involved with and some of the things we do on campus as an alumni that you help with?
For sure, yeah. So I sit on the committee as an alumni representative, and I'm also a licensed engineer, and so I'm part of the local PEO chapter in the Waterloo region, and there's also a committee there that focuses on women in engineering topics, and so I'm also supporting that and provide that linkage. And so I think the piece that I'm kind of supporting more and we're excited about is a mentorship program where we're pulling in industry representatives from across a number of different sectors through Waterloo alumni, but also local PEO members to meet with students and just provide some mentorship in careers or how they navigate the workplace through co-ops, and I'm sure there'll be other topics as well. So I am excited to see more of those linkages between the graduates and students in school to support women in engineering. And one other thing I was just going to say when we were talking about kind of the women in engineering on campus as well is I didn't really speak to that in terms of my experience, but I was going to say that I agreed with what everyone was saying. And I would also say for women students who are on campus to just to not be afraid to communicate what it is that you want to be doing and how you want to participate in your program and extracurriculars, et cetera. Because I found through my experience that, not maliciously or anything, that male engineers might assume that you won't be involved in the design or the building or the more like technical or hands-on components of work. And I wouldn't say that's across the board, but it was something that is experienced more often as a female. And so just want to encourage female students to say, you know, oh, I really want to be part of that design piece. Like, how can I be involved? Or just making sure you communicate where your interests are so that you can make that happen. Because I think that will really help as well. And people will be supportive if you can say out loud what it is you want to be contributing.
Thank you so much, Leah. I think that's a really wonderful point. We are actually almost out of time. It's just flown by the last 30 minutes here. I did want to let everyone know, though, that we do have a website for Women in Engineering. So we will be posting that in the chat. It's right there now, actually. So please do check out our website. As well, many of the people here on the panel today are in some of the engineering booths. So if you have more questions about women in engineering or just questions about our engineering programs in general, please do visit our booths. There's other live presentations going on throughout the day as well, and you can access those up until December as well. So you can log back in and access those, or even rewatch this broadcast of this panel here today. Before we sign off, any final words from anybody? Anything that you'd like to leave our attendees with?
Yeah, can I just jump in, if I may, and acknowledge the question earlier that mentioned non-binary folks, as well as Mary's mention of BIPOC. I'm a queer woman of color, and to all the students listening who face discrimination and other intersectional challenges, I want you to know that it's not easy and that we're in this together. I hear you, I see you. Please feel free to connect with me, look me up on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm here for you, and I hope that you find a community to be a part of here at Waterloo Engineering.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you once again to all of our panelists for joining today. We really appreciate your time on this lovely Saturday. I think we got through all of the questions, and we do invite everybody to visit the booths, and we'll be here until 4 p.m. Eastern time today. So thanks once again, and take care. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.